So if you've been following this YouTube channel for the past few months, you've probably seen once in a while the videos we make about weekly subjects. Either it's the 3 stars of the week or the NHL's best or worst team of the week. We like to go over things that happen, especially if the results are peculiar in my mind. So this is exactly what we had with the March 5 to March 11th best and worst teams of the week. This was posted onto the rHockey subreddit by Smash Bros 13. It's usually posted by Smash Bros 13, so big shout out over to them. Try to take a guess as to what their favorite video game is, but this is a very interesting week in regards to the best and worst players in the NHL. This, of course, if you wanted to understand the numbers, is calculated via game scores posted on various data analytic websites, so it technically is a representation of some of the quality of play that we've seen from these players. And just based off of the logos right here, on best team on left and worst team on right, you can kind of tell where we're going with this narrative. So, without further ado, let's go out there and dive into what is the best team of the week as well as the worst team of the week from the NHL's March 5th to March 11th programming. Starting out with the best team, you had yourselves the 3 best forwards, or best line, I guess you could say, of Brock Nelson, Bo Horvat, and Timo Meier. So, a big Metro edition of guys on this squad. Nelson and Horvat dominating games with the Isles right now, and Timo Meier in New Jersey has only recently started to put it together, but hey, better late than never, right? Especially for a team that's trying to claw their way into the postseason. But Nelson and Horvat, these guys have just been really lighting it up. I mean, just checking out the box score, seeing the amount of points they're getting, it's been really good for them. Second line, you have yourselves Filip Forsberg, Wyatt Johnston, and Nils Hoglander. Now, for Filip Forsberg, it's really good for him because hey, he absolutely dominated me in fantasy this week, so I'll definitely acknowledge why he has to be here. I think he had a hat trick tossed in one of these games over the past 7 days too, if I'm not mistaken. Wyatt Johnston has really bolstered himself up on a really good Dallas Stars squad, and Nils Hoglander, my goodness, let's take some time to talk about Nils Hoglander at the Vancouver Canucks, because in his past 10 games, he's got 7 points, and in his last 5 games, he's got 5 points. This guy scores so many 5v5 goals, it's kind of insane. He's got 20 goals in 64 games played, on pace for about 25, and he's got 31 points in the process as well. But really, Nils Hoglander's rise to fame in this Vancouver Canucks lineup, from being a call-up option, being a bottom-of-the-lineup option, up until playing with Elias Pettersson in the top 6, it's been such a transformative year for the progression and talent of Nils Hoglander. The guy just cannot stop scoring goals, especially at a 5v5 rate, and it's been really standing out the past few days here. As is Elias Pettersson in his game. He's ranked as the 3rd best winger. I mean, of course, it's team of the week. Pettersson plays center sometimes, but really it's just kind of rotating around here. Pettersson has been good the past little while too. 7 points in his last 10 games and 4 points in his last 5. Elias Pettersson has himself a total of 79 points in 66 games on the year, on pace for about 99, so that would be a decline from his 102-point season from last season. He did say before the year began that his goal was to best out his 102-point campaign. He wants to get at least 103. He's still in the territory to be capable of doing that. It's just because he slowed down a little bit, 7 points in his last 10 games and 4 points in his last 5 isn't a point per game anymore. It's going to be intriguing to see where his point production goes over the next, 16 games or so. Can he get that 21-point marker in 16 games to round out a 100-point campaign? Meanwhile, going over to the rest of that line, Adam Lowry of the Winnipeg Jets, hey, pretty good player, he's their captain for a reason. Anthony Duclair was traded from San Jose to Tampa, and he is also on this list, not to mention Toivo Teravainen, Nathan MacKinnon, and Jamie Benn. My goodness, Nathan MacKinnon, he should be near the top of this list every single week. The fact that he's only on the 4th line center spot just kind of speaks volumes as to how a lot of these other guys have been playing. But then you have yourselves the defenseman. Quinn Hughes is the best defenseman of the week based off of the metric of game score with his 11.31 marker. Quinn has been phenomenal still, 10 points in his last 10 games, 6 points in his last 5. I've been harping on Quinn Hughes the past few weeks because he had a period where he wasn't scoring many points, and for my fantasy, I really needed that in particular, so the fact that he wasn't really doing so, I needed to drop him, which is kind of why, I guess, he started to score points, because he maybe slided me a little bit. I don't really know, but either way, Quinn Hughes this season is on pace for 94 points himself. He was on pace for like 100-something earlier in the year, but as the year went on, I mean, it's tough to consistently produce at a 100-point pace as a defenseman. It's very rare to see that, so the fact is, Quinn is only on pace for 90, but that's still a fantastic season. He's got 76 points in 66 games played. He is almost at an assist a game, which is pretty nuts to think about, especially when you consider the current status of the NHL, plus the fact that he's got 13 goals. That's a very big marker and a huge step up from his 17 goals last season. So Captain Quinn Hughes has gone out there with a stellar year and stellar week. You've got Sebastian Aho of the New York Islanders, the defenseman Sebastian Aho over here, along with Gustav Forsling, Esa Lindell, Juuso Välimäki, and Cale Makar. So Makar making himself over onto the team of the week. Charlie Lindgren and Anthony Stolarz are your best goaltenders of the past 7 days too. Nice to see them getting some representation. And then, for the worst team of the week, this is where things get a little bit frustrating, especially for the Detroit Red Wings fans, because in terms of worst game score, you have Ryan Lomberg, Oscar Sundqvist, and Daniel Sprong as 3 of the worst guys in the NHL the past 7 days. Now, when it comes to Daniel Sprong, Christian Fischer, Robby Fabbri, I mean, look, the Wings have been playing like trash ever since they put that trash logo on their jersey. And I say trash logo, literally, it's the logo of a trash garbage company, so yeah, is there some sort of a coincidence? I don't know, man. I don't know. You can tell me in the comment section below whether or not you feel that is the case. But Daniel Sprong had himself a pretty bad week, all things considered. 1 point in his last 5 games and 5 points in his last 10. So you could see really the drop-off in production there. Sprong this season has 39 points in 64 games played, on pace for about 50. But of course, if he's only getting 1 point in 5 games continually for the next little while, that point production metric is going to drop off. But either way, 39 points in 64 games is already pretty good. Good addition here for Stevie Y from the Seattle Kraken from last season. But other than that, I mean, take a look at some of the other guys over here. Christian Fischer is on the worst team of the week. Lars Eller, Kevin Stenlund, Robby Fabbri. So you got 3 Wings, 2 Penguins, 2 Blues all over here. It's pretty apparent that a lot of the worst teams of the week metrics will be determined by team performance. And if your team is playing poorly, it's just kind of inevitable that some of the players on the team will be playing poorly too. Like the third line center on the worst team of the week, Sidney Crosby, is over here listed with a negative game score, and he's got 1 point in his last 5 games. Look at the metric right here, 9 points in his last 10, 1 point in his last 5. So if we isolate some of these numbers here, Sidney Crosby had 8 points in 5 games, and then in his next 5 games he only had 1. So that's pretty indicative as to where the Pittsburgh Penguins have gone the past little while, especially post-Jake Gensel trade. He's got 64 points in 63 games played. He's on pace for over a point per game. We've all been talking about how Crosby has been the moniker of consistency, over point per game seasons continuously for the span of about, 20 years now or so? He's been so good his entire career, but with the way the Penguins have been faltering the past little while, who knows if Sidney Crosby's point-per-game season campaign will continue and if he'll be able to keep up this streak. I mean, he's still got it for now, but let's just pay attention over the next few weeks how well the Pittsburgh Penguins are able to perform. And then rounding out the rest of the worst team of the week, you have yourselves Tomas Nosek, Braden Shen, and Filip Zadina. So even when the Wings aren't on the list, you have Detroit Red Wings on the list and Filip Zadina. Going over to the defensemen, you've got P.O. Joseph, Radko Gudas as your worst pairing, not to mention Pavel Mintyukov and Rasmus Andersson rounding out the top 4, and then Ben Chiarot and Jeff Petry are your 2 5th and 6th worst defensemen in the NHL? That's a defensive pairing that's Montreal friendly right there. Not to mention in net, you have Dan Vladar as the worst goalie in the past week, and Alex Lyon too. So very unlucky look for the Detroit Red Wings fan base, because their team has been playing like dog water the past little while here, but 6 Wings making the worst team of the week, that's unlucky. And then you got over to the best team of the week, and you've got a bunch of Canucks, 3 guys that have been dominating, and a bunch of Islanders too. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about the NHL's best and worst team of the week from March 5th to March 11th. If you're a Red Wings fan or you're a Canucks fan, let me know your opinions as to how these guys have played. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.